Hello, children's school, families, and friends, and welcome to our very last week of our bug camp. Today I was taking a walk through my neighborhood, and I wanted to stop by the Enright Community Garden. That's what that sign says behind me. And a community garden is a garden that everybody in the neighborhood helps take care of. And it's not a garden that we grow plants in just to look at, it's actually a garden where we grow food so that everybody in the neighborhood has food to eat. So I decided to take a stop off so that I could see how the plants are growing. But I also wanted to see if I could see some things about bugs inside of the garden as well. So I'm going to go take a look inside and see what I can learn about bugs. Come take a look with me. Inside of the garden, we have different spaces for different kinds of plants to grow, and we have all the tools that you need in order to make a garden grow strong. So I wanted to come take a closer look at the plants, because I expect if I take a close look, I might be able to find some bugs. Let's see what I can find here. There's a sign right here that says the word green onion. So that must be the kind of plant that's growing here. And I'm going to use my magnifying glass to look really close to see if I can find out anything about bugs or insects or any kind of creepy crawlers that are inside of there. I just saw something interesting. Come take a look. As I was looking closely with my magnifying glass, I noticed something about this plant right here. Take a look at the leaves of this plant. There's something I notice about this leaf right here. I notice there are lots of little holes in the leaf. And if I look closely, I can even see some bugs that are on the plant right now. I wonder if the holes in those leaves came from bugs that wanted to eat the food that we're trying to grow so that people have food to eat. This seems like a problem. If we have bugs that eat the food that we're growing for people, then the people aren't going to have food to eat. So I wonder what we can do to help protect some of these plants in the garden from the bugs that are trying to eat it. But hang on a second. Are all bugs bad to have in a garden where you're trying to grow food? I seem to remember at the garden that we have at the children's school, there would be lots of bugs crawling about, and we were still able to grow those really tall sunflower plants and all sorts of other things. In fact, I remember that we add worms to the dirt, and I seem to remember that that somehow makes the dirt stronger so that the seeds inside can grow even bigger. And I also seem to remember that there are lots of spider webs that sometimes appear in the garden. Do these help the plants grow? I don't know the answer to these questions, so it sounds like I need to do a little bit of research to find out. I found some really interesting videos talking about both worms and spiders and how they might actually help the plants in our garden grow. Here is a video of a gardener digging a hole inside of their garden. But why are they digging a hole? One reason would be to plant new seeds so that new plants could grow inside of that hole. But this gardener is doing something a little bit different. This gardener is actually adding worms to the garden. You can look closely and see the worms moving in the dirt that they added to the garden. But what are these worms for? How do they help the garden? This video is showing us what a garden might look like if we could see underground. And inside of this tank, not only is green leafy food on top and light brown wood chips underneath and dirt underneath that, there are also lots of worms. And the reason you're seeing the food disappearing is because this is a video showing us over many days worms slowly eating away at all that stuff in the tank, whether it be food or things like wood chips. And when they eat it, it's actually getting turned into soil that is really good at making plants grow strong. So the gardener added worms to their garden to make the soil even stronger for the plants that they're trying to grow. The worms have a wonderful place to eat and live, and people get even stronger plants because of them. We work together to both get what we need. These tiny little bugs are called aphid bugs, and right now they are munching on a tasty spinach plant. And although aphid bugs are an important part of our earth, we want to keep aphid bugs away from our plants that we are growing for food, not just for us to eat, but for everybody in our neighborhood. So when we design our gardens, we have to think of ways that we can keep aphid bugs away so that our plants have the opportunity to grow really big and strong. Now I'm showing you a video of a spider constructing a spider's web. And I think it's so interesting how you can see the legs of the spider pulling the strands of the silk across to make a really strong web. Now, can you think of why a spider and a spider's web might help the plants inside of our garden grow really strong? Well, spiders love to eat other insects. Insects just like the aphid bug we saw in the last video. So spiders can actually help keep bugs that would want to eat our plants away from our garden. And the spider's web helps too. It's super sticky, and if an insect falls inside, they will be trapped there, so they won't be able to reach the plants inside of the garden. So what I learned about in those videos is that there are two very important creepy crawlies that help our garden's plants grow really strong. Worms can live inside of the dirt and eat up everything inside of it and turn that dirt into super soil that helps the plants grow really strong. And spiders will actually eat the insects that want to eat the plants that we have here. And the spiders don't tend to eat the plants that we have here, so they act kind of as protectors for the plants, and spider webs can help keep the insects that would eat the plants out. If we were able to add some spiders and some worms to our garden, maybe there wouldn't be any more holes left in the leaves of the plants we're trying to grow. Now, I think it would be so fun to go out and look for real spiders and real worms and add them to our garden. But I'm going to play in a little bit of a different way, because you might not have any spiders or worms around you, or maybe you're playing an inside game today. So I'm going to figure out some ways that we can construct some pretend worms and a pretend spider web that I can add here to the garden as decoration. So come take a look at how I pretend in this way and how we can help the plants grow even stronger. I looked all around my house for different things I could use to pretend to be worms. And when I think of a worm, I think of something that's long and wiggly. So when I find different things that I can use for pretend, I need to make sure that they are long and wiggly. So I found 3 different things I could use. Come take a look at what I found. This pile right here are some old shoelace from a shoe that I don't wear anymore because it had too many holes in it. And this shoelace is both very long and it's super wiggly. So this would be perfect to be a pretend worm. These colorful things I got right here are called pipe cleaners. And they're used to clean very small spaces. But oftentimes we use them for artwork at the children's school. And these are great because you can bend them and it keeps their shape. So if you bend it into a wiggly worm shape, it'll stay that way even when you let go with it. There we go. So I've got a bunch of different wiggly worms that I can use with my pipe cleaners. And then for my last silly idea, I have some cooked spaghetti right here. This cooked spaghetti started out just like this when I bought it from the store. The spaghetti is very hard, and when I try to bend it, it breaks. But if you put this spaghetti in hot water for a few minutes, it turns all soft and bendy, and this is the spaghetti that we know how to eat. And this spaghetti doesn't break when you bend it or anything like that, so this would be a wonderful thing to use for a pretend worm game, as long as you don't use too much so you don't waste the food. So I have my pretend worms here, and I thought it would be fun to think about how a real gardener would look for worms. You could go to a store and buy some worms, but you could also just look in the dirt around you. I have some dirt in a box right here, and I thought it would be fun to put the pretend worms inside, shake up the box, and play a hide-and-seek game with them, so I can look for the worms that I need to add to my garden. But before I play my hide-and-seek game with the worms, I want to make sure I remember the 3 different kinds of worms that I have here. So I'm going to use my bug journal and open it up to a new page and draw the words or draw the 3 different kinds of bugs that I have in front of me. That will be kind of like a checklist in my hide-and-seek game. So let's see, I got my colored pencils right here. And I'm going to do the shoelace worms first. And drawing a worm is a lot of fun, because if you draw a squiggly line just like this, that is a perfect worm. You can also think of it as drawing the letter S. So we need to make sure that we get the black colored shoelace worms. Let's see. These rainbow colored worms are really cool, so I'm going to use lots of different colors for that. Some red, some green, some orange, and maybe some light blue. So I'm going to draw lots of colorful squiggles for these worms right here. Draw a red worm and a green worm. Usually worms are green or pink in real life. But you know what the fun thing about pretending is? You get to decide what color they are. So in my game, we got rainbow worms. Alright, so we have the black shoelace worms, we have the colorful pipe cleaner worms, and finally the cooked spaghetti worms, which has a yellowy color. So I'm going to use this yellow for the spaghetti worms. I'm going to draw a squiggly line like that for one worm, and another squiggly line like that. So you can see that we have 3 different kinds of worms here. And when I put these worms inside of my box, I can check them off of my list when I find them. So now I'm going to take these pretend worms, and I'm going to put them inside of my dirt. Okay, so the first thing going in my box are my black shoelace worms. Put that in right like that. And we're going to put some dirt on top of it too to kind of cover it up. And next going in are our rainbow worms. So we'll put that in like that. And some dirt on top to cover them up. We're going to be searching for these worms in the dirt, so we want to make sure they're nice and covered up. That'll make the game more challenging and more fun. And last, the spaghetti worms. I'm going to put those in just like that, and I'm going to cover it up with some more dirt, just like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shake the box really, really hard, and hopefully what will happen is that all of the pretend worms will get in different places, and that'll make it a little bit harder for me to look for the worms. I think it's good to have a challenge when we play games like this. Okay, I think we're just about ready. All right, I'm ready to look for the worms inside of my box. I already see some red sticking out there, so I'm going to use my pinchy fingers and take it out. Let's see. Ooh. Lots of worms stuck together, but it looks like this was one of our rainbow worms. And I think I see another one of the rainbow worms right here, too. Perfect. But what's stuck to this rainbow worm? This is a different color than the spaghetti started out with. But it's still the spaghetti, it's just now covered in dirt. So we found the rainbow worm, and we found some spaghetti worms. All right. On our checklist in our bug journal, that means that we can check both of them off. So we found the spaghetti worms, even though they got colored in that dirty color. I'm going to do a little check mark there like that. And we got the rainbow worms as well. So the last worms that we need are the shoelace worms. So I'm going to keep looking inside. I'm going to keep looking. Let's see. I think I see some more spaghetti worms. Oh, there we go. I think I found the shoelace worm too. Great. So now we have all of our worms out of the dirt and ready to put inside of the garden so that we can make our soil really, really strong. Just going to add the last check mark right here so that I know I am all done. Now I want to add a spider to my game. The spider is going to eat any insects that would want to eat our plants, and that will help protect the plants so that they can grow really nice and strong. If you have a spider toy just like this one, that's a great way to have a pretend spider game. If you don't have a spider toy, you could actually make your own spider toy. This is the way that I made mine, although there's lots of different ways. I cut out a little piece of this paper towel tube just like that. And that made the body, the circle body right here. And then I cut out some legs that I folded into an L shape just like this. A spider has 8 legs altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the other side. So get really creative and think about ways that you can add spiders to your game. So, Spider, do you think you can teach me how to make a spider web? I've never made one before, and I don't really know how to do it. Yeah? All right, let's give it a try. I'm going to first try to draw a spider web in my bug journal, just as practice. And then I'm going to make a really big spider web that I can add as decoration to the garden. So on this page of the bug journal was where we drew all the worms that we played our hide and seek game with. And on this side, I'm going to draw a practice spider web. I'm going to practice first because later I want to draw it on this big piece of cardboard that I have here. And the practice will help me get a really nice spider web on the big cardboard. So when I draw a spider web, first I'm going to draw an up and down line like this. There's lots of different ways you can make a spider web, but I think this is a good way to get started with your design. After I draw an up and down line, I'm going to draw a side to side line, just like that. And that makes a cross shape or a T shape. After I'm done with my cross or T shape, I'm going to draw a diagonal line, just like this, that goes through the middle. And I'm going to draw a diagonal line that goes the other way too, which together makes an X shape. And when you combine the X and the cross shape, it makes that star. So now what am I going to do? Well, if I think about a spider web, the different parts of the spider web were connected. I remember I saw the video of the spider go from different parts of the spider web, stringing that silk all across to make it really strong. It almost made a circle shape. So I'm going to connect the different ends of the spider web. And I'm just going to do a little kind of a curved U shape like that. There we go. I'm going to connect all the ends, just like that. And I also remember that when I'm done connecting the ends, it wasn't just the outside that was connected. There were lots of different levels on the inside of the spider web that were connected as well. So I'm going to draw little levels like that to fill in the blank. 1, 2, 3. How about 3 new levels in each blank? 1, 2, 3. And they're connecting from the lines in our star shape that we drew originally. Okay, so I've practiced drawing a spider web in my bug journal now. And I can use the spider web that I drew to help me draw a really big one on this piece of cardboard right here. Okay, since I practiced drawing the spider web in my journal, now I can give it a try on my big piece of cardboard. This will be the decoration I add to the garden. So just like before, I'm going to create my cross shape with a big up and down line and a big side to side line, and some diagonal lines as well to make that X. And all together that makes a star shape. I'm using a marker this time so that it's a really strong, dark line. And just like before, I'm going to connect the ends to make that circle shape. And now the last bit of the spider web was to add lines in the middle connecting the different parts of the star. So I'm going to do that next. Just like that. Okay, the spider web is all done, but I want to add one more idea to it. Spider webs are sticky, so I have an idea to help make our spider webs a little stickier. Some tape. My idea is that I can add some tape to this decoration so that if any insects come by, they'll stick to it. So I'm going to add some pieces of tape to my spider web. And that's going to make it add some sticky parts. I'm kind of rolling that tape up into a ball. And I'm just going to add it to certain parts of my spider web. It doesn't have to be all over, just in a couple different spots. I just want the idea of it being sticky, and maybe I can even play a pretend game with it. I'm going to add 2 more pieces of tape, I think. I'm taking the tape, I'm rolling it into a ball so that it's sticky on all the sides, and then I'm putting it on my spider web. And 1 more piece of tape, roll it into a ball, and put it on the spider web. And now, if if there are any insects that come and try to eat some of the plants that we're growing for food in our community garden, the spider web will cause them to stick to it, just like this. And when they're stuck to it, they're not going to be able to eat the plants inside. So this would be a really fun way to play a pretend game where we're protecting the plants inside from being eaten by the bugs. I've got my spider web right here, and we're at the entrance of the garden, just like at the beginning of the video. And I think the entrance would be a good place to put the spider web. That way, it can guard the front. And if any insects see that spider web, especially with the other insects attached, they might not want to come in. And that will protect our plants. So I'm going to put it, I think, right here at the front. What a really cool decoration to add to our community garden. Look at all the ants crawling on the ground right here. That's right on the outside. If they try to go inside the community garden, they might see that spider web there and decide not to come in to eat the plants. I'm ready to add some of our pretend worms to our community garden soil to help the plants grow really strong. Now, if I had real worms, I think it would be super cool to add it to the soil. But since these are just pretend worms, and I'm pretty sure a dirty old shoelace isn't going to help the plants grow, I'm going to add them to the soil, but when I'm done playing, I'm going to take them out, because I don't want to litter inside of a community garden. So I'm going to start by putting that shoelace worm inside of the soil. You go on in there and you can fertilize the soil and get lots of yummy nutrients for the plants. Now I'm going to add one of those rainbow worms inside that we made out of pipe cleaner. And I'm going to add some spaghetti worms to the soil as well. And now I can pretend that all of the worms that I added to the soil will help the plants grow super duper big and strong. And then we'll have lots of delicious food to share with the whole entire neighborhood. Friends, I have had so much fun playing our community garden game today. We created some pretend worms and added them to the soil so that the soil would have lots of nutrients and the plants could grow really strong and tall. And then we added that pretend spider web up front so that if any insects were coming in to eat the plants inside, they would see the spider web and feel scared that maybe a spider would try and eat them. What a really fun way to play pretend. I love playing pretend in this way where we can learn new things about the world while we're having fun playing. So, friends, thank you so much for watching our videos, playing with our activities, and coming up with your own super creative ideas at home. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about them. And if you would like to send a picture to us of any games that you've been playing at home, whether or not they're about bugs, please send them to the Children's School. We would love to see them. And parents, of course, thank you for everything that you do. You all are awesome, and it has been wonderful to be able to do this camp this summer. So I am looking forward to hearing about all of your play ideas super soon. And of course, again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all real soon. Goodbye, Children's School family and friends.